Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to another chat about starting on your first day. I'm here with Tim from Invisible Ink, who's been so kind to join us. So Invisible Ink is a creative agency. It started around nine and a half years ago. Tim himself came here 14 years ago, which is exactly the same time as me. Now, they love small projects, they love bigger projects, they love just about everything. But one thing that Invisible Ink really do love is clients who are a bit more willing to be adventurous. And to do that, they've got a great team behind them. Now, currently, there's some openings for some creative interns, and that's where our story starts today. So, Mr. Tim, imagine I've applied to be a creative intern, and I'm so excited, and I get the email saying you're going to start next week. What would you advise me to do in that week before starting at Invisible Ink?
It's a good question, Carl, and it's one we get asked an awful lot, whether they're interns or new staff who are joining the company. Generally, we don't expect staff or interns to do anything in preparation, but some of them obviously, quite keen. They have some time before starting with us on the first day. So anybody who does ask us that, and they do have time and they do seem really keen to learn, is the main thing we say, okay, have a look at our website,
yes,
our social media, get familiar with what we do as an agency, get familiar with the style of our work, get familiar with our services and the projects that we've done in the past. And then we may send them specific, if we know exactly what that team member, which projects they're going to join, we'll probably send them some documentation or the website, just so they can have a read through and get familiar with that work. Not too much pressure, because everything will, be explained on the first day and gradually introduced. So it's we don't want to overload them or we wouldn't want anyone to jump to assumptions too early, unguided. Before they start. So yeah, not an awful lot to do before they start with us.
I've got my new pencil case. I've got some fresh pens. I'm ready for tomorrow. What should I do one day before?
I think get a good night's sleep, which is an easy one, but it's something that I think a lot of people are worried. And it's perfectly normal. It's perfectly natural to be worried and anxious before your first day. Everybody does. And I think just try to relax and get a good night's sleep, because I think a lot of people on their first day come in a little bit bleary-eyed or very fueled up on coffee because they haven't had a good night's sleep. So whatever you can do some exercise, try and tire yourself out or just relax yourself, get a good night's sleep so you come in fresh and your mind and body is receptive to a lot of information you're going to take on board.
Brilliant. Let's say that we're back in the office, because I've seen your office. It's absolutely gorgeous. The murals are stunning. So I'd probably on my first day just spend most of the day looking at the wall in your office. Absolutely gorgeous. And so what would you advise, what time would you advise we turn up to the office in the morning as a first day?
First day, we tend to set a time around sort of 10 a.m. They're not there at the crack of dawn, so that the staff, their direct manager or whoever's going to be responsible for them on the first day is there ready and waiting for them. There's nothing worse than somebody turning up very keen before the office is open. It's not an early start by any means. Yeah, just be ready to meet the person who's going to be responsible for you, usually direct manager or perhaps myself or my business partner, the other director in Invisible Ink. And then we'll show you to your workstation. And then just the only thing they'll need to do then is to access their email. And once they can access their company email, which they should have received an invite for, that unlocks everything, all the tools that we use, all of the onboarding instructions. We have an HR system called Sage, which is very good. We've developed an onboarding workflow.
Yep.
So it doesn't matter what position you are, everybody goes through the same sort of 14 tasks just to get themselves set up and familiar. And that usually takes up the first morning until lunchtime. So it's quite a sort of, leisurely sort of start to the day. And through going through those tasks, they do get introduced to all of our systems, or just be able to log into them, not training on all of those systems, but they just get to log in, and they also get to meet a few of the people because part of the task is to introduce yourself to this person or send an email to that person. So through working through the onboarding workflow, they will get to meet a few people.
Right, so the morning is done now. So it becomes a very important part in Thailand, which is lunchtime. So any tips for lunch at Invisible Ink? Do you have lunch? Do you normally at the office? Do they scatter out around Bangkok? What's the plan?
It's a bit of both. It normally depends on the rest of the staff, particularly the team that they're joining. What are they doing that day? Are they having lunch in the office? Are they having lunch out and about? So we don't like to get too involved or try and dictate you must go at this time with this person.
Nice.
We don't try and buddy up. I know some agencies sort of had a buddy system or somebody who's responsible for you. We don't try and force anything, but we do have a good culture. I think a very friendly culture. We're a small agency. We're only 16 people. So it's very easy for everybody to meet everyone, particularly on the first day. And we like sort of things to happen a bit more organically.
Yeah, I think that's the best way.
So it's never been an issue, and whether they go out for lunch and get some fresh air or stay in the office, we do think that's an important part of the first day. A lot of sometimes the questions that they've been meaning to ask, they don't ask, and they wait for lunchtime to a more informal setting, and then they can ask the team. We love giving that or having that opportunity for staff to ask some of those questions they've been meaning to in a more informal setting.
But the day's gone. We've come back from lunch, and I've had a lovely time. I'm getting to know a few people now because I've only got a small team. With regards to sort of finishing up the day, what advice would you give to your, say for example, a creative intern? How should they finish the day? How should they sort of leave the office?
Finishing the day and throughout the day, really, I think be curious. Ask questions.
Yes.
We want everybody to be curious. We want everybody to not be afraid to ask those questions. We love it when people, go, whether they're new staff or interns, when they just try that little bit extra, or they want to know in a little bit more detail why.
Awesome.
And so just bringing that curiosity to the first day is something I'd really stress. When they leave the office at the end of the day, just try to retain as much of that information that's been given to you and the opportunities that have been given to you, and bring it to the next day, really.
Yeah. And sometimes it's a tough question, but I think it's useful for people who've come from education and into the professional world. It's a very, very different world. And so what are some of the things, Tim, that you don't want to see on that first day? What 3 things would you say, these are some things I'd rather you not do?
3 things I wouldn't want to see on the first day. Probably the first would be, too much social media. Maybe they're on their phone. Maybe they're very used to checking their Instagram, their Facebook throughout the day. And that's something that if we do see that, particularly when they're being onboarded or they're being in a meeting, they should be paying attention to something else. That's quite frustrating to see. So we don't like seeing that. Somebody maybe who's asking to try and leave as quickly as possible, to go home as soon as possible. We find a lot of interns or people who are just coming straight out of education, they're maybe not used to the length of the working day. It does seem a long time to stay in one place, to stay, within the office. So being too eager to leave or trying to leave early, that doesn't always set the best impression. The third, I think, just how I mentioned before, accepting that you're nervous, but not letting that hold you back from asking questions. If we feel somebody is just sort of nodding to everything, they're like, okay, fine. Then we feel like, maybe it's not being absorbed as well as we would hope. Maybe that information isn't going in. Maybe there's something that they are dying to ask, but they're just too scared or don't want to be embarrassed by asking that. And we don't like that feeling if we feel that they do want to ask a question, but they're holding back. So
Tim, that's absolutely fantastic. And I think anybody who would be wanting to intern at Invisible Ink will be super happy, because you do some really amazing projects. And I wanted to really, really thank you for your time. I'll put all of the details of your website below, including a link to contact us for joining. Is there anywhere else they can find more information about the internship?
Some information on our social media.
Perfect. So
about internships.
Perfect. Cool. Tim, thank you so much for your time.
Thank you, Carl. It's been a pleasure talking. Bye-bye.